All right. Thank you for tuning in. If you are just joining us, I am Dr. Monique, and you are listening to Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. I'm the physician in the kitchen, but you already knew that. But I'm so glad you're here. We have been going through my book, Doc Fix My Plate, the physician in the kitchen's prescriptions for your healthy meal makeover. Before the commercial break, we talked about E for egg replacement, F for fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables. Say that fast 5 times. And now we're going to conclude with G. And G is for ginger and garlic, 2 of my absolute favorite fresh spices to work with. Yeah, you can get the powdered, of course, but when you work with them fresh, it really just ups your game. So your kitchen smells amazing. Promise, take my word on that if you haven't tried it. So garlic is actually a vegetable and ginger is actually a spice. So, but technically, that's what they're defined as or classified as. And they're going to add flavor and depth to anything. And I love the way it makes my kitchen smell like just a 5-star restaurant. Fortunately, they're, pretty expensive. They're very widely available and they both have a ton of health benefits. Garlic, which has, it contains many minerals and vitamins, has antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal properties. Yes, please. Has anti-inflammatory properties, can lower your bad cholesterol, and also may reduce the frequency of the common cold. Whereas ginger, think about it, we use it to fight nausea, like ginger tea or ginger ale. Motion sickness can help with that. Has an anti-inflammatory effect on your joints. Also has antimicrobial and antiviral properties, immune system boosting, and can help relieve upper respiratory infection symptoms. Lots more, but those are just some of the things that both garlic and ginger do. So if you think about it, garlic is used around the world for a reason because it adds, that flavor, that oomph to your food. So it's used Caribbean, Italian, Chinese, Indian dishes, just to name a few. It's in the same family as onions and shallots and leeks. So to me, a shallot is like the love child of onion and garlic. It's a smaller, oniony looking vegetable that has a garlicky little slight garlic taste to it as well. So your garlic is, I don't have to tell you about garlic. If you're listening to the show, you know what garlic is, but I just want to remind you that it has a lot of health benefits. And so it should be in your repertoire. And I recently have started roasting my garlic before I cook with it. Let me tell you, it makes it a little sweeter, changes the texture. It's easier to kind of spread or work with. It is wonderful. You don't even have to peel it. You just douse it in some olive oil and wrap it in some aluminum foil, bake it at 350 for about 20, 25 minutes. When it comes out, you just kind of literally first of all, before you do that, cut the end off and then douse it, wrap it up. And then once it's tender and soft, you just literally squeeze it out of the skins and it's wonderful. So thank me later for that. Ginger, unlike garlic, ginger can be used in both desserts and savory dishes, right? So it's a little more flexible as far as its flavor profile. So you can grate it, you can chop it, you can juice it. It can even be candied, and you can actually freeze it. You can freeze your ginger and grate it. You don't have to worry about defrosting it. Just get you a nice little microplaner or a grater and add it to whatever you're cooking. The amount that you need is wonderful. So ginger is another one of those things that I think you should have on hand. If we go to the store, if you've never seen fresh ginger, when you go to the store, it's usually next to where like the garlic is. And it looks like almost like a hand. It's got like joints to it almost. So, you can buy it and break off pieces and use them and freeze the rest. So it's very flexible and very pretty good shelf life if you keep it in the refrigerator or freezer. So, and of course I use it in my stir fry. I've got a recipe in the book where both garlic and ginger are used as a stir fry, but lots of different ways, that you can use it. Make your own ginger tea, let your imagination go wild. So I hope you have enjoyed listening to some of my favorites. We've talked about E for eggs. We've talked about F for fresh and frozen fruits. And we've talked about G for garlic and ginger. If you send me a question, if you have a burning question or you have a favorite you want me to talk about or add to the list, please hit me up on Instagram at Physician in the Kitchen, or you can email us at info@drmoniquemay.com. If we use your suggestion or question on air, guess what? You get a free copy of the book, Doc Fix My Plate. I mean, how do you lose? That's a no-brainer to get you, or you can order your copy at docfixmyplatebook.com. As always, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Remember to invest in your health one plate at a time. Eat the rainbow. And until next time, Dr. Monique wishing you good food and good health.
If you want to educate, empower, and inspire our community, we're providing a wonderful opportunity for anyone who feels they can make a positive impact in the lives of others by applying to be an on-air radio personality. To set up an interview, call 877-342-7770. That's 877-342-7770 to apply. This is your chance to step out on faith. This is your chance to get the experience and education that you need in order to launch to the next level of greatness and make a significant difference. WDRB Media is now hiring on-air radio personalities. If this is you, no experience is required, no previous education needed. They do all the training. Call 877-342-7770 to set up your interview today.
All right. Thank you for coming back. If you're just joining us, welcome. I am Dr. Monique, and you're listening to Fix Your Plate with Dr. Monique. And today we're covering the alphabet. We're going through my book, and I'm sharing with you my favorite vegan food ABC. So this week we are doing E, F, and G. So take a wild guess what E might stand for. It's a pretty popular, pretty widely used food. So we've got to talk about how do you replace it, or how do you find substitutes when you're going vegan or plant-based. So I'll give you a hint. It's used in everything from breakfast to dessert, particularly cakes, one of my favorite things. So yeah, eggs. If you've guessed eggs, you are correct. So think about it, right? If you're vegetarian, you may eat eggs, but if you are vegan or plant-based, you don't. So the issue becomes, how do you still enjoy breakfast? How do you still enjoy desserts like cakes or brownies or anything in between? Quiche, right? Yeah, I just made my son a quiche. He was home for the weekend. And I made him spinach quiche. Well, my son is not vegan, so I was able to use eggs for him. But for myself, this is a big thing for me. If you get the cookbook, you can see I've got a few desserts in there. I've got a couple of cakes in there, blondie recipes. So, eggs are used for a variety of things in baking. They add structure, height, flavor, moisture, taste. So you have to be able to find a substitute, or else you're going to have some pretty sad desserts, right? And sad and dessert just don't go together. Those two words should not be in the same sentence. Eggs also help to, they bind things. They're thickeners. Lots of things that eggs do. Lots of benefits that they provide as far as the outcome of your food. So the beauty that I found on this journey is we have a lot of options. Spoiler alert, you have a lot of options when you're looking for egg replacers. So we're going to talk about some of them now. And again, different ones work for different things. And this list, by the way, is not all inclusive. There are other things. These are the ones that I have tried, that I have found, that I, kind of my go-tos. But by no means is this list all inclusive. And if you're listening and you use something else, please drop me a line. Let me know. Social media, hit me up, Physician in the Kitchen. Let me know what you use. I would love to share your suggestions on a future episode. And if you drop me a line and I use it on the air, guess what? You get a free copy of my best-selling book, Doc Fix My Plate. So chime in, let me know. So in no particular order, no alphabetical order, just again, my list of things. Applesauce, right? The applesauce is low in calories and contains helpful antioxidants. Now, let me preface this by saying I use unsweetened and organic when I can, but it adds moisture to cakes and quick bread batters. And the substitution is pretty straightforward. For each egg you're replacing, you only need a quarter cup of applesauce. So I will kind of tailor it if I'm doing like a sweet potato pie or, excuse me, sweet potato pound cake. I will use, or pumpkin pound cake, I'll use cinnamon flavored applesauce. But applesauce is a great addition. And we've also talked about it as being used as an oil or a fat substitute as well. So applesauce is one. Next is flaxseed. So ground flaxseed is a very good source of omega-3 fatty acids, which, as you probably have heard, decrease the risk for heart disease and stroke. It's also rich in lignans, which are antioxidant substances that decrease the risk of certain cancers like breast and prostate. Lastly, flaxseed also contains a lot of fiber, which is so important for colon health, can lower your cholesterol, and can help improve your blood sugar. So flaxseed, we use it to make what's called a flag, which is flaxseed plus water equals a flag. Because what happens is when you add water to ground flaxseed and also chia seeds, this is also true for chia seeds, you get what's called a flag or a cheg. So to substitute for one egg, you use a heaping tablespoon of the ground flaxseed mixed in 3 tablespoons of water. Let it sit, let the mixture sit. So this is one of the things, if you're prepping your food, you're prepping your ingredients, do this one first because you want it to sit about 10 minutes or so. If you pop it in the refrigerator, it's even better. And what will happen is it becomes kind of viscous or egg yolk-like, and you'll use that in your batter. I usually whisk mine as well to make sure everything is well mixed, and add that in. So this is also ground flaxseed, just as a bonus. You can add it to your smoothies, oatmeal, quinoa, salad dressings, add it to your granola. If you're making your homemade granola, flaxseed, a little bit of flaxseed goes a long, long way, but it is useful as an egg replacer, as are chia seeds. Next is silken tofu. So as we know, tofu is made from soybeans. It's going to contain proteins, minerals like iron and calcium, and contains those very ever-present antioxidants that we're always talking about. It also helps to lower your bad cholesterol, the LDL, help prevent breast or prostate cancer, and be helpful in decreasing hot flashes in postmenopausal women. So it works well when you're using it as an egg replacer. It can help to bind as a binding agent, works as a binding agent, and the substitution is going to be a quarter cup per egg. The next on my list is apple cider vinegar, or ACV, and baking soda. So apple cider vinegar has antibacterial properties and can also help lower diabetics' blood sugars. And here, your substitution is for each egg, it's a tablespoon of vinegar and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So this reaction, that chemical reaction between the apple cider vinegar and the baking soda, remember the volcano school experiments or school projects you've done or helped someone do. This helps to make the cakes and the quick breads rise. So it gives height to your finished product. I use it in a couple of the cake recipes in the book. Next is yogurt. So you can use yogurt in things like muffins, cakes, cupcakes, and the substitution here is going to be a quarter cup per egg. And they do add moisture. Yogurts do add moisture, so you want to make sure you adjust for that. If you're using other liquids, you might want to just, watch out for that so you don't end up with something too moist, but that's a great way to add moisture. And here I'm talking about there are vegan yogurts. So, if you're using regular milk, of course, or Greek yogurt, that's, not going to be vegan, but there are coconut milk based yogurts. There's soy based yogurt. So you do have some vegan options for yogurt. Oh, and you can also make your own. So there's that. The next one, I have to tell you, I was so excited to learn about this one, and I've talked about it before, but it's called aquafaba. And you're like, what the heck is aquafaba? Aquafaba basically translated means like bean juice. So, or bean water. So when you get a can of beans, particularly chickpeas or garbanzo beans is the name for them, that water that's in there in that can, don't pour it out. Don't pour it down the drain, rather. Save that. That is aquafaba. Some people, there's a little bit, I think, of debate or uncertainty if aquafaba applies to all canned bean juice. I think purists consider just chickpea, but the point is, instead of pouring all that down the drain, actually save it. Because if you're using canned beans, you typically, I know I do, rinse them off because you want to get off any excess sodium. But that juice can be used. And aquafaba can be used as a substitute for egg whites. So think meringue, like when we have to whip it, and it takes a while, but it works. It is amazing. I also use it in when I'm making an aioli, which is basically a mayonnaise type product. You can use that as well. So it's 3 tablespoons per egg is what you would use, because it works as a binder as well. So you can use that. The next one is carbonated water. This one may sound weird, but it adds moisture to your baked goods and also makes them light and fluffy. Again, due to those air bubbles, a little bit of chemistry in there. And you would just use a 1/4 cup for each egg that you're trying to replace. That's a lot. And again, that's not even everything. There are others out there, but those are just some of my favorite egg replacers. My virtual book club, we're reading passages or talking about passages from my book, Doc Fix My Plate, The Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover. If you've got your copy, great. If you don't, it's not too late. DocFixMyPlateBook.com. Head on over there, order your autographed copy today. So before the break, we were talking about the letter E for eggs and all the wonderful substitutes you can try for eggs. Next is F. So F is for, drum roll, F is for fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables, right? Kind of a no-brainer. You're talking about a plant-based diet. Of course, we got to talk about fruits and vegetables. But I want to spend some time extolling the benefits of frozen. Of course, we know fresh. I mean, no brainer. But fresh and frozen fruits and vegetables should be kind of on your list, on your radar to think about. Because frozen produce, so it's wonderful for a variety of reasons. You can get, food out of season. You can get, it lasts longer in your refrigerator, your freezer. So lots of good reasons to consider frozen. So not a no, it's not, again, not I'm not breaking the internet here. I'm not shattering anything by saying you should eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. So, they have no labels to decipher. You wash them, you cook them, it's again, I don't really need to spend a lot of time on that. But what I do want to point out or talk about is that, a lot of us don't have the time, resources, or desire to go to the grocery store, 3 or 4 times a week to get those different fresh produce. COVID impacted a lot of that. A lot of just how we get our food has, for some of us has changed. So unless you're growing your own, which if you are, jelly over here, okay. I did start my own little garden here recently, but would love to have a big, beautiful garden I could just go pick my own fruits and vegetables out of. But unless you're growing your own food, frozen produce can really come in handy. It makes it an option for you to enjoy your favorites around, year round. You don't have to worry about them being in season. And you can even get things that you may not have access to locally. So when you're when you're looking at frozen foods, keep in mind they're usually picked at their prime, and they're picked when they're ripe, and then they usually are blanched. Particularly the vegetables will be blanched, which is where they put in the boiling water really briefly and then placed in an ice bath to stop the cooking process, preserving the color and the texture that you know and love, and actually contains nutrients because they're not being overcooked, right? So, and this all usually happens pretty close to where they're being picked. So, because of this, frozen vegetables may actually contain more vitamins and phytonutrients, which are those beneficial plant chemicals. That may even be more than what you get at your local grocery store, the fresh produce you get. And the reason being is because the fresh produce, quote unquote, fresh produce may, depending on where it's coming from, may have traveled quite a bit to get to your local grocery store. So their nutritional content is going to decrease over time. So, it could be sitting in the store for a while. Like if you think about it, if you've seen like kind of the markdown bins where they keep certain foods, that's because it's been there past its prime. It's been there a little too long. So the time delay from distance and travel from the distance from the farm to the grocery store can actually decrease the amount of vitamins and beneficial plant chemicals in that food item by the time you get it. So the amounts of carbs, proteins, minerals, and fiber are not affected, but we're talking more about the vitamin content and the phytonutrients. Fresh and frozen produce have the same amount as far as carbohydrates, protein, mineral, and fiber. That's not affected. Okay. We're strictly talking about the vitamin content and the phytonutrients. A little plug here, a little shout out for farmers markets. If you've got access to one of those, so definitely hit those up. I've been able to, I'm fortunate I have a couple near where I live, and I was able to go buy things like lemongrass and Thai basil, things that I don't get in my local grocery store. Plus they have some, sometimes they have some different things that you've never seen before. You can try them out. Farmers markets, wonderful option. If your grocery store has like a farmers market section, be sure to check it out and ask the grocery manager what day they get their delivery so you can be there and get them, as close to getting off the truck as possible. There are other ways, of course, to get fresh produce as well. There are subscription boxes that bring you either, quote unquote, ugly produce, but there's nothing wrong with it. They just deem it not pretty enough to be sold in the grocery store, which is kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. But, those are out there and they may, be at a discount. Just explore different ways of getting your food, because you may end up saving money and you also may be introduced to new things that you hadn't tried before. So let's talk a little bit though about organics, because the word organic, and we've talked about this on a previous show, people automatically equate organic with healthy, which for the most part it is, right? But organic produce by definition is free from pesticides, genetically modified organisms, and harmful hormones. So organic really relates to the way the food was grown. Yes, generally speaking, it's going to be healthier for you, but keep in mind, sugar can be organic too. So you don't want to sit down and eat a bowl of sugar, right? So just keep that in mind. And yes, organic is going to be typically more expensive, not always, but typically more expensive than the regularly produced produce. And often it's smaller too. If you look at the size, it's actually smaller. Why? Because they're not putting those extra hormones in it. If you want to buy some organic, but you don't want to, your budget won't allow you to buy everything organic, the way you kind of pick and choose is if you're going to be eating the skin or the outermost layer of that fruit or produce, opt for organic. So things like strawberries, peaches, green beans, sweet bell peppers, things like that are some examples of where you may want to shell out the extra bucks for organic. Apples, lettuce, and broccoli are considered to actually be at low risk for having high levels of pesticides. So conventionally grown should be okay for those types of foods. But you want to try to get organic, and grown in the US. So that's kind of because if you probably bought any produce lately, you know, we get a lot of our produce from other countries. So if you want to really kind of get more bang for your buck, look for you organically grown in the US. And of course, all produce needs to be washed before you eat it. And even if you're going to be cutting it, think about this. You don't eat the outside of a pineapple, you don't eat the outside of a watermelon, but you still should wash those off before you prep them, because think about it. If any bacteria that's on the outside and you cut through it, now your knife has just dragged all of those bacteria into the fruit itself. So even wash the ones that you don't eat the outside of, like oranges. Okay. And if you want to make a produce wash, you can certainly, buy those in the store. But studies have found they're really not that effective and they're pretty expensive. You can get just as much, or if not more, benefit from making your own produce wash by using 1 part white vinegar to 3 parts water. And you just put the produce in your clean sink, soak them for about 5 minutes, and you're ready to go. So, little dollar saving tip there. And you can still get your produce, because if you want to, get off any wax or dirt, that's a good way to go about it. Keep in mind, when you're washing your vegetables, certain ones it'll speed up the spoilage if you wash them and don't dry them before you use them. So water can increase the rate of decay, so to speak. So like your leafy greens, if you're going to wash them, put them in and wrap them in like a clean paper towel, and then put them in a zippered plastic bag until you're ready to use them. I hope things are going well. I hope your day is off to a great start. I know I am very thankful that you have chosen to take some of your precious time and spend it with me, listening to the sound of my voice today. Who am I? Well, I am Dr. Monique. I'm a board-certified family physician who is known as a physician in the kitchen. I help busy households just like yours enjoy healthy plant-based eating without impacting their hectic schedules. And I do that with this radio show. I do it with my best-selling books. I do it with my social media presence, speaking, you name it. So you're here, I'm here. Let's get into it, because I don't have a minute to waste. I am so excited about this week's episode. If you've been listening, we're in the middle of my book club. We're doing my book club, which is me basically sharing passages from my bestseller, my second bestseller, Doc Fix My Plate, The Physician in the Kitchen's Prescriptions for Your Healthy Meal Makeover. We're in the middle of our series, Dr. Monique's favorite vegan food ABCs. Basically, it's my top 26, right? 26 ABCs. My top 26 foods that I have discovered or rediscovered during my personal journey to becoming more plant-based. So today we are doing letters E, F, and G. If you missed the other episodes, fret not. You can go back and find them on your streaming service, or sign up at my email list to get added to my email list, and we can send them to you. All you have to do is go to cookingwithdrmonique.com and get added to the list. We're going to take a quick commercial break, come back and get into it. Like I said, this episode is chock full of goodies, so I don't want to waste a moment. First, we want to thank our sponsor, May Medical Consulting, PLLC. So if you are listening, please stay tuned. You've checked box. You've done the first thing, which is making it here. So stay tuned. On the other side of the commercial break, we're going to get into this list.